Hello and welcome to this episode of Pixel Journey. This episode is going to be all about a game that took me way longer than I expected to finish, and that is Punch Club 2 Fast Forward. So before we get into it, I would like to thank Minimap, who supplied me with this Steam code, but in no way affect my perception or my review of this game. They just gave me the Steam code and said, just review it and mention us in your video. So with a name like Punch Club 2 Fast Forward, this is obviously a sequel, and no, I did not play the original Punch Club before playing this. So if you have played both games and are wondering why I'm not mentioning maybe some little Easter egg or something, it's because I have zero knowledge of the original game. But I did read that they were pretty similar, so if you can get a hold of either, maybe try whichever one you can get on a nicer discount. So Punch Club 2 Fast Forward will have you taking control of the main character who has been essentially trapped in his house for the 20 years of his life because his mom does not allow him to leave. His father has disappeared since before his birth, so he has never known him. The only bit he knows about him is that he was this amazing fighter who, the night after he won the biggest fight in the entire city, he mysteriously disappeared. So with that little bit of knowledge and a lot of passion for both fighting and finding his father, you set out to train your way to the top and figure out what happened to him. Now you will start out by going to the town's only gym at the moment, and that is ran by a man named Silver, who was actually friends with your father. So you can go and train with him every day, and you can also use some of his equipment to help you train up. But since this is a more future sci-fi setting that we were playing in, a lot of people no longer use the old school blood, sweat, and tears method for working out. Now there's this thing called neurotraining, which has you essentially setting in a machine, and that raises your stats. Now the stats that you will be focusing on will be three. It'll be strength, agility, and stamina, and all three of these will affect your stats within each fight that you do. Now you will be doing a lot of fights with a name like Punch Club as its title. The rule of the fist rules all of the city that you will be exploring, so be prepared. Always make sure that you are prepared. Now, since you never left the house, you don't really have a job, and food costs money, and you need to eat food. So, you will at first be working for one of three, maybe two of three, depending on how you sort your time, different, more so illegal establishments. You can work at Bubba's farm punching slimes during the day for food, don't tell anyone else. You can work for the Russian mafia or the Yakuza in the evening, either bending things for the robot factory for the Russians, or cooking noodles right outside the Yakuza's club. Now you can, and I highly recommend, at some point finishing up all of those jobs because you do progress some side stories. And the more you work, you will get promotions, much like real life, for very little pay. Now, one great little bonus thing about the jobs that you might want to focus on if you are trying to level up a specific stat is that each different job helps also boost your experience in that stat. So Bubba's farm helps give you your green stamina points. The Russian mafia bending their metal will actually give you more strength points. And making noodles for the Yakuza will give you agility points. So not only do they give money, they actually give you a lot of good experience. So I will say I focused a lot on working as much as I could, not only because you need a lot of money at some point, at a lot of points, so it is just really nice to have a bunch of money so you don't have to worry about starving. Now there are some RPG aspects carried over into this game, such as the inclusion of many skill trees. Luckily for the most part, they are all in your same menu, so don't worry about having to go around and find them. Now, fighting being the main aspect, the first one that you'll be introduced to is, of course, unlocking different moves and also different fighting types. Now, you'll progress through the game and unlock more and more different fighting styles as you go, and this will allow you to get more and more moves. You will have offensive moves, you will have defensive moves, and then some little extra buffs. So once you feel ready and comfortable, you will start in Silver's League and try and fight your way up to the top. Now once you have toppled Silver's League, you will actually move on to the 2nd Division and 1st Division leagues, respectively, once you have completed them. And those are ran by a very weird manager that seems like a weird uncle. Now when you move up to this league is about the same time in the story to where you start trying to work your real jobs. And those come in two forms. The police station, you work with a holocop to become a police officer yourself, or you restore Mike to a hologram, the man who once owned the original gym in your city, and you get to restore the terribly, terribly rundown gym and start working as a trainer and following your father's footsteps. Now, the police station and the gym trainer jobs actually will eventually run into a divided path where you can only take one, so do figure out which one you prefer to do, either based on your story or based on just what you have to do, maybe the time. Now, one of the hardest sections in this game is when you're trying to juggle your fights in the league, training at the gym, and also your police officer shift. These will basically hit back to back on each day, each have a 3-day reset. So yeah, you're gonna be a bit busy until that path divides. Now, while you are setting course through your main storyline, there are going to be a bunch of little side missions that you will have to do that will eventually loop in and help progress different main story quest lines. Now, all of these you can find in your menu, and they're sorted in a lovely graph that connects a bunch of boxes, and it's very satisfying to look at. This also is where you will find which missions are actually in which chapters. Now, this game is divided into 3.5 chapters, and the main points of logic for where each one starts and begins is the league that you are in. Now, progressing through the leagues will get you more and more missing information on your father. But once you are done with all of those, then that is where the story takes a very weird turn. And due to this video hopefully being a promotional thing to get people to play the game, I am not going to say what the major twist is at the end. I do want you to experience it for yourself if you've never played this game. But yeah, it gets weird, so be prepared for that. So if you have done all of your side missions, you've done all of your fights, and you've completed what you want out of the story, and you're still wanting to fight some more, then you might want to think about downloading the Iron Fist DLC. So funny enough, whenever I was given the code to review this game for Minimap, I was actually given both the code for the main game and the Iron Fist DLC, and I just downloaded them both at the same time. So as I was playing through this game, I actually had no idea that I was actually already playing the DLC as I was making my just normal progression through the game. It wasn't until I loaded up the save file again after I beat the final boss and ended the story, roll credits, all that, that I realized that I didn't have anything else to do. All of my missions and quests were green, showing that I had completed them, and I wasn't quite sure if there was something I needed to do to activate the DLC or what. So I went over to Steam, and would you look at that, I actually had already completed it. Now, the Iron Fist DLC on How Long to Beat and all of this stuff on Steam has it at about 6 hours, so do beware if you are one of those people that try to get the most out of the money that they spend on video games. It is a very minor addition to the game. It actually has you training up this very, very weak robot with the help of this AI TV woman. And basically, you have the robot go through a league of its own, and you have a whole mini storyline with the robot and the computer AI that used to be its original trainer. I really did enjoy it, and it was very nice to have that to focus on during some of the more downtime sections of the main story. He basically works just the same as your main character. You can train up with him, you can actually upgrade him, you can get different like body parts, you can swap his arms, his legs, you can upgrade different aspects of him. He does have a lot more buffs to add, which is kind of nice, really fun to play with. So yeah, essentially you go finish his league as a robot, and then solve a little extra after that, and that is basically all that the Iron Fist DLC is. I do recommend, if you really want to play this game, just snag it with the main game and play it all kind of at your own pace together. I really enjoyed it that way. I do feel like if you pick it up after and you play the DLC once you've completed all of Punch Club 2's like main story and everything, it will feel maybe kind of tedious. So I definitely recommend playing it together as one. So the story, I think, is really what carries this game. It has this really wacky futuristic cyberpunk, but the city is even in worse states kind of vibe. Everything is very corrupt feeling. No one really does their own work. It's very WALL-E adjacent. Everyone uses machines to improve their lives. There's no real food now. It's all slime food sent into machines. So the atmosphere really carries the game. I think it's great. I think it really sets up for just a city that is so corroded with just this corruption and chase for immortality as people have become holograms to kind of live on thanks to a chip implanted in your brain that carries your memories. And with a city like that, there is really no laws, no rules to follow. It's just the fist that you have to go by. If you have a disagreement, you fight, and that is just how it goes. Now, there are a bunch of different places that you can explore, and this does go on a moving like day and night cycle. So do beware of the time, especially in the beginning, because certain things do act like the real world and close when it becomes too late, or if they're only open at night, you can't go there at 3 in the afternoon. But this game does have a very amazing story about a son just kicking ass trying to figure out what happened to his missing father, and also just some really fun, sometimes just annoying fights to where you just need one more hit. This game will have you very frustrated at some points. But overall, it is a great game. I am not someone who, if I was just buying games on my own, would have looked twice at this game. But I'm so glad that I was able to play it because it was actually very, very fun. So I looked on how long to beat when I was trying to figure out something for the game, and it said that the main story took about 24 hours or so for people to complete. I think I did basically everything you could. Steam has 66 achievements and I got 63. One of them for a lockout achievement that I just didn't buy, and 2 for the path lockouts. So I came very close to 100%ing it, so I did do basically everything it offered me. And Steam has my final runtime of 41.6 hours. I would definitely say that this game is worth your time if you are someone who enjoys fighting games, but not like Tekken. If you like time management, or it's not really a city builder, but you do improve the city. I do think this is a very fun game, and it came out just this year, and I have not seen any other person talk about it, and that does make me a little sad after playing it, because it is a really good game. It really feels like it could become one of those cult classic type games that just a really passionate group of people just love. So yeah, if you like these types of games, if you like the style that you see in the gaming overlay, definitely check it out, or at least wishlist it. Now, if you are someone that have played Punch Club 1 or 2, please let me know your experience down in the comments below. I'd love to see how they differ from my own, and if you struggled as much as I did. But yeah, that is basically all for me for Punch Club 2 Fast Forward. I do hope that you enjoyed my review, and if you stuck to the end, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And if you think this was a good review, give me a thumbs up to make sure that I know I did a good job. And if you like the gaming content that you see among the channel, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't lose me. Well, have a good day!